Hello, excuse me, this is Amethyst, and this is your reading DC, reading number 841. You asked me 3 questions. You asked me about your relationship and I guess, you know, what's in store for you for the future. You also asked me about your career and whether anything, I guess for the want of a better phrase, more satisfying and exciting will come up. And you asked me about family. You asked me about your, I think your father, I'll just pop into your email and have a look, your sister and your dad and so forth. Now that's going to be a little bit more difficult and tricky for me to get to, because I have to get through your energy to get to theirs, and they haven't given me permission to do that. So I'll see what comes up, but I can't guarantee that I can answer that. We'll spend the majority of our time here. These are the staves that look at the future, but we'll just start here and work our way around. Now we start off with this Ogham stave here. And this Ogham is Engatol or broom, and this is in the position that themes your whole reading. Now this is about sweeping away all of the old behaviours, all of the old fears, all of the old desires that are outdated, all of the old worries, and even the people that no longer serve you. Now this is quite important for you at this stage, I guess, of your life and with what's going on. Really, really important that you don't hold on to old dreams and that you just let things go. It's about fresh start. So particularly in terms of relationship, it's about letting go of the old paradigms. And you talked, I'm just going to pick up your email again. You talked in here and said, am I destined? I feel it, and I feel like a failure, and that I can't sustain a long-term relationship. Now, what Engatol is talking about here is really important, because it says it's exactly that kind of a mindset that you need to let go of. So it's about a fear of never being in a really, really long-term, forever, permanent kind of relationship. The fear of not having that is really important to let go. But we'll pick up on that a little bit more as we go through the reading. These 3 staves here represent the last 12 months or so for you. It's primarily more the last 6 months though, and they're headed up with gorse or on. And gorse is about sexuality, but it's also about, it can be about sexual abuse on occasions as well, and being the subject of sexual abuse. But it can also be representing you as the subject of mental abuse, but also of unhappiness. But it's also, and very much so for you, it's about, in the last 6 months, the last 3 months, and so it's about living in the now. It's about being unable to plan for the future, because you just got to cope with what's happening today. So it's a little bit like, you know, so much is happening for you. Lots and lots of things are, I guess, have been getting on top of you, and I can see that in a number of other staves here. And so for you, there are things that you want to do in the future, but you haven't been in the position where you can actually sit down and methodically plan for those, because you're just coping with what's happening each day. We can also see that in these ones here. This is older or fian, and this is about the need to take advice and receive advice and support from other people. And you're feeling pretty lonely at the moment. You're feeling pretty abandoned, and I don't mean that just in terms of your primary relationship with the relationship that's just broken up, but generally speaking, you're feeling quite alone and unsupported. And we can see that as well here, because Heather is this one underneath here, and Heather is about love, and it's about companionship, and it's about mutually sharing and caring, and that's underneath this one here. So I keep being told again that emotionally you've taken a real hammering in the last year, and in fact for slightly longer than that. And that also that your self-confidence has taken a huge hit, and that you're not really completely confident anymore in your own abilities, quite clearly as a partner, but also in a number of other areas as well. So it's been a really flat time. This Ogham stave here that sits in the middle is talking about what's happening right now for you, and this is Dewar or Oak, and this is very much about hard work. It's about just, you know, bum up, head down, so to speak. It's just about getting on with it. And for you right now, that's kind of what you feel is happening. It's kind of like you're not living, you're just existing, and you're just going to work each day because that's what pays the bills and that's what has to be done. And whilst you're a really good mum, again, you're not feeling as though you're not as passionate as you once were about anything, because for you it's just all about just getting through the day. You are a really hard worker, you're a dedicated worker, you are loyal, you are ethical at work. This is as well, and when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And in terms of work, what they're telling me, what Ogham Oak is telling me, the Ogham Oak is telling me, is that you're very much taken for granted at work because you just get on with it and you do it. And that's what they've come to expect of you. You just get on and you just do it. You're not a shining star, but you are not at the bottom of the heap. So you are in the middle and of, you know, the pile of people, so to speak. And because you don't shine a light out, you get missed for so much. But you are valued for the hard work that you put in, but not to the point where you're not valued to the point where you get enough recognition for that as well. But you don't do it for the recognition. Ogham Oak people don't do it for the recognition. They do it because their work ethic says, you know, we have to get on with it. You're the one that people come to when extra things need doing, not just at work but at home and amongst friends and family as well. You're the dependable one, and we can see that very much with Oak. Now these four over here are the ones that talk about what's coming up in the year, so at the year ahead. So these are probably the ones that you know, you're far more interested in. And we have heading those up is Elder or Ruis, and Elder is actually about regret. Sometimes it's about shame, and I'm not suggesting that you have anything to feel shameful for, but what this is kind of saying is that the year ahead is a year very much for you of internal growth. You have a need in this coming year to spend some time with yourself, looking at your strengths, looking at your weaknesses, and determining how you can grow as a person. So it's not about how you support other people, it's about how you support yourself in this coming year. This one, I'm just going to go through these very briefly and then we'll hang it all together. This one over the top is Strafe or Blackthorn. This is actually about tears and sadness and upset. So I would love for all of my readings to be filled with love and light and laughter and happiness and all that kind of stuff. That would make my job so much easier. But life isn't like that, as you know, and it would be unethical of me to filter out messages that are less than happy just so that you end up with a happy reading. So I have to be really honest here and deliver to you what the Ogham staves are saying to me. And again, Strafe talks very much about it being a hard year ahead. Financially, it's going to be a hard year. Legally, it's going to be a hard year. It's going to be a hard year in terms of work. It's just a lot of hard work, and we know that you're capable of doing that because you've got that one there. But it's a tiring year, and it's not a year that you will look back on in the future and say, oh, I loved that year. It's not one of those years at all. The 12 months coming up is I guess a year of status quo, but it's that year where you need to take time to look after you. Sitting underneath this is Gort or Ivy. Now, these two, Gort or Ivy and Dewar or Oak, are actually quite similar to one another. Both of them talk about there being lots of hard work and dedication, but there's a bit of a difference, and they don't often come up together. Oak, this one here, is very much about work ethic, and it's about you working for the next 12 months because you've got a family, you've got a daughter to care for, you've got people who are relying on you. Gort or ivy is about you working very hard for the coming up year as well, but it's about doing so because it's necessary, it's about survival. Gort also says to me that it's really important this year, you must make sure that you take up any offers of support, that you find support, that you find people to lean on whenever you possibly can. Ivy is an Ogham stave, which says that you're already doing this actually, DC, but you will be for several months ahead yet. Putting on a brave smile for the rest of the world, that's what you do, but underneath there's a great deal of sadness, almost depression, I guess, for the want of a better phrase, loneliness, and I don't want this to sound all bleak and horrible, because the year ahead is not 100% bleak and horrible, but I guess the theme of the year for you is that one of real, plodding on and getting on with it. And then sitting underneath here is pine or allium. And this is the underpinning of the year ahead, and this has got a bit of good news in it for you. Pine, which is a nice contrast after what I've just said. Pine says that how we picked up on it a little bit here, and it's a reflection of this one here. This is the year where you need to stop, where you need to think about the things that have held you back in the previous years, and some of that is self-sabotage, some of that is not being able to believe in your own abilities, not being strong enough to say, actually I want this, and I'm going to go for that. And Pine says this is a year where you need to stop all of that. And remember, we talked here about Enkital, about getting rid of all of the old fears and getting rid of all of the old behaviours so that you can let new behaviours in. Pine reflects that very much, and it says it wants you to think about the next 2 years, the next 12 months to 24 months, and it asks you to get a piece of paper and a pen and write down your goals. Write down your goals in terms of work, in terms of relationship, in terms of family, in terms of health, in terms of finances, social factors, spiritual factors, if that's important for you. Write down a goal for each of those areas. What do you want to work towards? What do you want to begin to achieve in the next 12 months? And Pine says very much that it's kind of talking at these ones here, and it's saying if you continue to reflect on the past, you will continue to get more of the past. But if you pick up on what you want in the future, then you have something to work towards instead of simply reflecting on what has been. I'm hoping that makes sense. So the Ogham staves are very much saying sweep away all of the old worries, all of the fears, all of the old hurt, because you still hurt quite an awful lot, and sweep all of those away if you can, and replace those with positive goals that you want to achieve in the coming year, and that will give you a focus to work towards rather than a reflective focus, which is what you've been doing before. You've been looking back and saying, well shoot, this didn't work, and damn, that wasn't too good. And so none of that anymore. Instead of that, your words and your language needs to be about, I'm working towards this, and this is going to happen, and I'm going to make this happen, and I want this to be part of my life, so you're working forwards. Now, that's really important, because Gort or ivy also talks very much about if you indulge, for the want of a better phrase, if you allow yourself to indulge in the fears of the past, then you may be spiraling towards depression. And so it's really, really important that you have those positive goals to think about, and that you have lots of people around you who can provide support. Maybe time out from being a mum sometimes. and maybe different projects. See if you can take on different projects at work as well, so that you can give a little bit of stimulation to your life, a bit of variety, that kind of stuff. They're also telling me that it's incredibly important in this coming year that you take care of your physical health as well. With Dua, with Oak people, they tend to work and work and work and work and work, and you do that. You tend to work and work and work and work and work, because that's your work ethic, and that's the expectation that's placed on you and that you place on yourself. But as a result of that, you may have a tendency to burn out and snap. So I'm really going to encourage you through the Oghams in this coming year to take care of your physical health. So that means eating properly, that means making sure that you have a little bit of exercise, that means holding back on that coffee and the sugar, just a little bit, balancing your diet a lot more. It also means doing little things for yourself as well, which might be having a nice hot bath when you want a nice hot bath, and some me time, close the door, have some candles, essential oils, nice music playing, or spend a little bit of time in nature if that's what does it for you as well. So it's about balancing your time ahead. I'm also being told that you're going to take on some new study inside the next 18 months, and that will help you towards a career change. They're saying to me that you're actually quite creative, but that you deny that and you don't think you are. They're saying that you actually are creative, and that you're going to start to pick up on that inside the next 6 months and explore and experiment different ways to manifest your creativity. Not this coming year, not 2014, but in 2015 you're going to start a new course of study, and it's going to help you develop some of that creativity a little bit more, and thereafter you shift career sideways. It's a slow shift over a couple of years into a slightly different area that kind of really feeds your soul a little bit more, because for you that's really missing at the moment. Your soul, your heart is not being fed. Your physical body is being fed with food and that kind of stuff, but your actual essence is not being fed and not being nurtured, and that will begin to happen from 2015. So that's a fair way off. In terms of relationships, what they're telling me is that it's really important that you spend this coming year ahead working on you and working on better understanding who you are and loving who you are before you can give yourself to someone else. So I hope that makes sense. Now, I'm going to disappoint you again and say that I'm getting nothing about your family, and I did mention at the beginning that often that's really quite difficult, because I have to go through your energy to get to theirs, and I don't have their permission to do so, and it's really muddied it up. In essence though, what we're seeing here for you is it's really important to look after your health in the coming 6 months particularly, and start to think about where you want to go in the future. I also wanted to show you your Druid Animal Oracle card, which is Boar. Now this is quite interesting, because Boar, or Talk, he doesn't come up all that often actually. He's an animal of courage and leadership, and he's been kind of saying to me that you've just been going with the flow for the last few years. That's what you do. You're pretty laid back and you just go with the flow. But now is the time to say, I'm not going with the flow anymore. I'm actually going to create the flow. And we talked about you creating your list of goals so that you can begin to work towards those. That's all that same kind of genre. It's about taking control of your life instead of allowing other people to do that for you. The boar is an old druid animal, and he really kind of asks you to take your courage in your hands and go for it, with those goals. Boar is also someone who's very dedicated to family, as I can sense that you are, and that family is a very strong concept for you, as it should be. But at the same time, remember that you cannot always be the one that holds everyone else up, which is what you usually try and be. Sometimes you need other people in the family to help hold you up. So Boar is very much looking at you know, picking up on what these guys said as well, which is about letting go of the old hurt, putting courage in your hands and saying, this is actually what I want to do, I'm going to go for it, okay? The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was your Celtic birth tree, which is in fact Ingertol or broom. And it's interesting that it came up as the theme for your reading as well. Broom is a beautiful tree of wisdom, druidic tree of wisdom, largely because we use broom, or reed is the other one that this one refers to, and reed is used for pens, you know, for writing things down, and so it's very much synonymous with wisdom. Broom people, therefore, we know, are quite wise. You are a very calm kind of person, laid back kind of person, you know, you go with the flow kind of person, as most broom people are. But they also can be really independent when they need to be, and resourceful, which of course I can sense that you are. And they have a depth of strength, which is fantastic, and we can see that here as well. You know, it's all about survival. You keep going, keep going, keep going, even when things are really tough. And so, broom, your Celtic birth deity is the Welsh deity Pwyll, Pwyll. I really encourage you to go and look at Pwyll, because Pwyll is all about strength, determination as well. And your Celtic birth animal is the dog or the hound, which is also about family, very much like the boar was about family. But dog is also about strength as well. So for you, that undercurrent of strength in the coming year is really is quite strong. So I realised that this reading didn't give you some of the good news that you would have hoped it would have done, and I'm sorry about that. But I do hope that it helps to I guess inspire you with a little bit more strength to make some really good decisions for the coming year.